Hi, everybody. I'm Erin Taylor, and I am your dish diva. So before we get started today with our meal, I'm going to give you a little bit of background information about me. So my passion for cooking started way back when I was a little kid, and I remember going to my grandmother's house, and she had a special little eight drawer and apron for me and my sister to help her in the kitchen. And usually it was us helping, with the fresh catch of fish that my grandfather caught that day. But I also remember, being in the kitchen with my mom and being very curious about what things tasted like before she started cooking them. I remember asking her, like, well, what if we put this in? What would that taste like? So fortunately, she encouraged that behavior, and we would test things out in the kitchen. So just through the years, I've enjoyed being in the kitchen, enjoyed cooking. So today, I'm really excited to share that passion with all of you guys. So what I'm going to start off with first is we had somebody asked what we can use to make mac and cheese healthier. So this is a very difficult thing, but mac and cheese is mac and cheese. It has all the cheese in it. You can't necessarily just not include the cheese, right? So an easy way to kind of make it a little healthier is to add some vegetables into it. So especially if you're dealing with kids, or if it's something you're just kind of eating by yourself, or with your small family, adding some broccoli, peas. You can even add some different types of protein into there. But if you're going to Thanksgiving and your family might disown you if you try to change it up too much. One thing that I've done that actually has helped flavor the mac and cheese a little bit more and adds more nutrients to it is adding in some diced garlic and onion. That actually just kind of increases the flavor of it. And then another option is to go with a higher quality cheese. So if you can see here, this is a grass-fed cheddar. So the grass-fed cheddar actually is going to give you a better quality fat from those cows, instead of a cow that's grain-fed. So that's another option. It's going to be a little bit pricier, of course, if you go with the grass-fed cheese, but it will actually help to increase the nutrient content of the mac and cheese. But mac and cheese, like I said, is a very difficult one to try to do some healthy swaps with, because it's such a family favorite, and we don't want you guys to be, blocked from the Thanksgiving because you brought in some a vegan form of mac and cheese. You want to make sure everybody's on board with that before you do it. So my aunt Odella was actually the one that asked about that. So I'm using her kitchen today, so this is great. All right, so we're going to go into the dish now, and what we're going to do today is we're going to actually make some, it's a Thai dish, Thai-inspired dish. The reason why I chose Thai food is because Thai food is really great with their flavors that they use are really good with vegetables. And so today's topic is Vegilicious. Thai food also includes a lot of really bold flavors and a lot of aromatic spices. I love Thai food so much, and a lot of times they actually add in a little bit of coconut milk, like the canned coconut milk here. Instead of using chicken as a protein, we're going to actually go with tofu today. So tofu is a great alternative if you're looking to reduce your meat intake. Tofu is actually just a curdled soybean that's formed into a block. So when you're buying it in the store, it usually comes with this packed in this liquid here. This is the liquid that remains after salt is taken out of the seawater. So that in itself has a lot of nutrients. But you can see here, this is a solid block of tofu. All right, so what you'll do is you can cut this up into cubes. Tofu doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. So what's great about using it is that it can soak up all of that flavor that we're going to use today in our Thai dish. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a basil. It's called basil, tofu, and veggie in coconut curry sauce. Okay, curry is a wonderful, wonderful spice, very aromatic. You can find various types of these curries in the grocery store. This one here is a red curry powder, whereas this one is just this curry powder. But they're going to have different things. Like this one has something called fenugreek in it, where this one does not. But you have things like coriander, cumin, chili pepper, cardamom, any of those varieties. So your curry can taste different every time you make it. With the addition of the coconut oil, it adds a little bit of sweetness to that savory. So we're going to get started with the dish, okay? First thing we're going to do is we baked some tofu. So what we did here was we cubed the tofu. You can see in this shot here. Actually, and then we marinated it. So the recipe that I'm sharing with you guys, you'll see the marinade in there. We just incorporated a lot of the flavors that are already in the curry sauce that we're going to be making. Now this, like I said, tofu will take on and absorb any of the flavors you add to it. So we added a little bit of the curry, something called garam masala, and we also added some ginger into it as well. And then just bake that. Now you can stir fry it, you can bake it, it's up to you. It's easier for me to just throw it in the oven and forget about it. The next step is we are going to make our sauce. So we're going to put our coconut milk in here. Now this is a canned coconut milk. So this is different from some of those cartons you might find in the grocery store that are a substitute for milk. But as you can see here, this canned coconut milk is actually a combination of the coconut meat and the water that's inside the coconuts. Now it does come in light or regular. The light is actually just has a little bit more addition of water to it. Not that they removed any fat from it, but if you're looking for something that's not quite as thick, maybe just to reduce the amount of fat that's going into your dish, you can use the light one. This is going to give you a lot more of the coconut flavor than the cartons of milk that you'll find like in the cereal aisle. So we've got our coconut milk here. We are going to whisk in a little bit of flavor. So we've got our curry sauce, our curry powder, and we've also got what I call the garam masala. So the garam masala is actually just another blend of aromatic spices. This one contains paprika, chili, salt, turmeric, garlic, and saffron. So like I said, Thai food does contain a lot of nice bold flavors. We're going to get those in there. And to give it a little bit of sweetness, we are going to add a little bit of sugar. Now this is the coconut sugar I'm using. The coconut sugar is actually going to be, it's still, when you're talking about sugars, there's still going to be some effect on your insulin. But the nice thing about something like a coconut sugar, or if you do a raw sugar, turbinado sugar, those have more nutrients in it. So what happens when you have more nutrients in a dish is that it takes your body a little bit longer to break it down. So you won't get as much of the insulin rush, but don't be fooled, it's still sugar. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of that in there, and it's not much, it's a half a tablespoon. And then the last thing we're going to add in here is a little bit of cornstarch. So what the cornstarch is going to do is it's going to thicken up this sauce for us once it warms up. It won't thicken it up until it actually gets warm. So we'll mix that in there. And you can see the wonderful colors it's creating in there. And it smells wonderful. All right, get that nice and mixed up there. We're just going to set this aside because we're going to get started on everything else. So what we're going to do, this dish is nice because, like I said, the Thai food works really well with a number of different vegetables. So I've already got some chopped up here, but I am going to show you a little bit of technique for chopping up something like an onion. So the onion already has a lot of different layers in there. So the nice thing about chopping an onion is that you only have to do a couple of chops here. You keep the end intact. So you still have this here, but now you have these nice cuts here. And if you want it diced, there you go. Now you have some nice dicing there. Or if you want strips, just cut it a little bit bigger, and you've got some strips there. So we'll throw that into our bowl. We're also going to be doing, adding in some snap peas. So the snap peas are great because they're nice and thin and crispy. I eat these as a snack. So these are great if you're looking for just a snack in the middle of the day, want something healthy, nice little crisp to it, dip it into some hummus, and they're wonderful. Okay. We're also putting in some red pepper. So we've got a couple peppers here. So we're just going to strip those up. So what we have here, just cut off both ends. And you're going to actually take out that middle part there. And now you can actually cut it into strips. Voila. All right, so the knife is a very good tool to have in the kitchen. You want to make sure that it is nice and sharp though, because you can see here, if I'm cutting this stuff here and it's not very sharp, you're going to have a hard time getting some good slices off of there. So one thing you can get is one of these sharpeners. So if you take the knife and you do one of these, that actually helps to sharpen the blade. And you're just slicing it side to side, side to side. Another option is to get something like this, where it just sits on the counter, and you're basically rubbing this, pulling the knife through these different areas. One is for a finer point, and the other one is for more of a coarse point. So you definitely want to make sure you start off with that really sharp knife. Another option, though, that really makes it easy to cut up vegetables, because we are focusing on vegetables today, right? You want to make sure that, let's see, we've got a couple different things here. We've got something called a mandolin. This is a slicer, and it allows you to open it up so that you can get different size cuts on each of your veggies. So you can do something like this. And now you've got these wonderful circles here. The other option, and this is one of my favorites, is the food processor. So they come in different sizes, but if you have a big one, you get a lot of different blades. So for instance, this blade is going to help with dicing, whereas this blade here is going to help with more of a shred. So the one that I have in here now is going to help with slicing. So we put the yellow squash in there, and I'm just going to turn it on. Boom, you're done. So I know that's one of the biggest complaints I hear about people who want to eat healthy is they hate chopping up food. If you get one of these, this makes your life so much easier. So now you've got these wonderful slices of zucchini. We can throw that into our mix as well. Throw some of those peppers in there. So the other things that we're going to throw in are mushrooms. So we've got some mushrooms that I've quartered up that we're going to add in there. One important thing to remember about mushrooms is that they do sometimes have a little bit of dirt on them. This nifty little brush actually helps to remove some of that dirt. So you can just kind of brush the mushroom, get some of that dirt off, and then go ahead and chop them up. Another option, if you can't find one of these little brushes, is you can use a damp paper towel and wipe down the mushroom and get that dirt off of there. Okay. This right here, these are my best friends. So carrots always, whenever I get a recipe and it says to make matchsticks or cut matchsticks of carrots, I refuse to do that just because it's a long, tedious process. Buying the shredded carrots actually saves you a ton of time. So we've got some carrots in there as well. And then we're also going to be adding in some ginger. Now this is what the fresh ginger looks like, and it's called a finger. So it's a root vegetable, it has a really strong aromatic flavor. And usually you won't need this much, I promise you. So what you'll want to do is just take off a little finger, and you can use just this part here. Okay. Storing ginger, you'll want to freeze it, because what you can do is you can actually take it straight from the freezer and grate it. So when we're ready for our ginger, what you're going to do here is just take a grater, and you want some larger holes or else it just becomes very wet and mushy and doesn't fall through the holes. So you're just going to rub it on, and you can keep the skin on. Voila. And now you have some fresh ginger to throw into your pan when it's ready. Okay. All right, I think that was everything that's going to be in here. Today we're going to use some avocado oil. On the recipe I shared with you, you can use avocado or coconut oil. Both are really good for high heat cooking. Okay, so avocado is kind of my go-to. So we've already heated the pan, nice and hot, and we're just pouring a little bit of oil here. Set that aside. And then we're going to add in our veggies. You can hear that nice little sizzle in there. And you can see how colorful this dish is here. Very bright. And the more colors you incorporate into a dish, the more nutrients you're going to get out of it. Each color represents a different nutrient. We're going to keep sauteing this because we have it on medium-high heat, so we don't want it to stick and burn. So you're constantly stirring it in that pan. And you do want to make sure you don't make the pan too overcrowded, or else the items are not going to get cooked very well. Smells good. So right now it just smells like nice fresh veggies. When we pour in our sauce and let that kind of thicken up, we're going to start getting a really nice smell of those aromatics. Okay. Now, in the meantime, I've already started cooking some rice. So with Asian food, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see rice served with that dish. So what I use is brown rice. So one of the things I suggest, if you don't like brown rice and you're trying to eat healthier and you want to like brown rice, is to actually, when you're making it, use about 3/4 of it white rice and 1/4 of it brown rice. So you start mixing it, and then gradually mixing more and more of the brown rice in and less of the white rice. Okay. So we've got this, and with this particular thing, we're going to do this is going to be a crisp tender. For the veggies, we want them to still have a little bit of crispiness to them. First, we're going to put in our ginger. We've got a little bit of ginger here. We'll grate in a little bit more, so we can just do that right over the pan. Now you can start smelling those really nice Thai flavors coming through. So a lot of times, some of the stuff will stick on the back, so I'll take it off. See? You get a nice little portion of that. There we go. And a lot of times, you'll see the colors of the vegetables actually brighten up quite a bit as they're heating up. Because overcooking vegetables actually depletes the nutrients in them. Okay, so we're going to pour in our sauce. And you can see it bubbling up there. And so that cornstarch that we put in there is actually going to help thicken up this sauce. Turn it down just a little bit. Now, isn't that beautiful? Look at those colors, that yellow in there. You can see the greens, the red. So when I'm making dishes, I usually try to incorporate as many colors as possible. So if a recipe doesn't call for anything green, I'll usually add in some spinach or some kale. I added in these snap peas because they work well with a Thai dish and with doing kind of a high heat stir fry. And you can see this getting a little bit more, a little bit thicker there. So yummy. So as I mentioned before, we are going to do the tofu in there. So I showed you guys the tofu. And you can see there's just these little tiny cubes. But they have the same kind of coloration that the sauce does. So we're going to throw those in there, into the sauce. And I bake the tofu for maybe 20 minutes at about 400 degrees. And So we'll get that in there, incorporate that, and mix it around so that we have all of those flavors getting into the tofu as well. All right, I'm going to turn it off and it'll thicken up just a little bit more as we're doing that. I am going to add a little squeeze of lime. So I cut up a couple limes. I'm going to a little squeeze of lime for a little zest of flavor. You'll see a lot of limes in Thai cooking. Give that a quick stir. All right, I'm just about ready to serve this. We're going to see what my husband thinks. So the rice, I do have a rice cooker. So as I'm talking to you guys about the rice cooker is another really big time saver. It also allows you to cook your rice perfectly every time. I know sometimes when I'm doing it in a pot, it doesn't always cook. It might be unevenly cooked, or there might still be a lot of water left. The rice cooker helps eliminate a lot of that. So with the rice, we are going to serve that in a bowl here. And I did brown rice. Now, you can see here, I got this at Aldi's. And Aldi's is a great place if you guys have one in your neighborhood. You can still find really good quality, like organics, but the stuff is actually at a lower cost. One thing that people always complain about with brown rice is that it takes too long to cook. So the nice thing about this particular brand here is it says it cooks in 15 minutes. It's still brown rice, and it's actually still organic, but you can cook it in 15 minutes. So they probably do a little bit of a partial cook on it before they dehydrate it again and then serve it or put it in the bag. So we're going to spoon a little bit of rice in here. You can see it's still a little sticky. There we go. All right, so we've got some nice rice in there. And we're going to spoon in a little bit of our veggies over there. Ooh, this looks good. So Thai food, me and my husband love Thai food, so we do a lot of Thai cooking. In fact, when he used to come visit me in Pittsburgh, there was a place called Nikki's Thai that we figured out was right in my neighborhood, and we went there every time he came into town. So we are kind of obsessed with Thai food. So we'll see if I did this any justice. So I'll have Colby come on in here, and he's going to try it. We'll see what he thinks. So he's going to eat it with chopsticks.
All right.
But
looks good.
You don't have to eat it with chopsticks just because it's Thai food.
Yeah, we'll do you like that. Looks a lot of good colors. I'm not sure if anyone can see it.
See how he does with the chopsticks too. It's hot, sorry.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. So again, lots of good flavors that come out of this. Like I said, every time you make it, it's going to be probably slightly different, just depending on what kind of curry powder you use. Because the Thai food has actually been influenced by China, Mongolia, even South America. They got peppers, started using chili peppers as a result of some South American influence. But you are going to get a lot of good flavors in the Thai food. So I always encourage people to try something new. So this might be out of your comfort zone, but it's actually something that could work in your kitchen. As you can see, it's really fast and easy to make. Now, one thing I didn't tell him was that I have actually made a little bit of dessert. So you guys have that as well on your sheets. So this is a chia pudding. Here, I'll put it in here so you can see it a little bit better. So chias are seeds that actually contain a high amount of omega-3 fatty acids. And what I did was warmed up used the coconut milk again, and added a little bit of sweetener, the honey, coconut sugar, anything works. But you don't really need to have it too sweet. You add in a little bit of vanilla that actually helps to sweeten it up a bit as well. And then we add in some mango. So mangoes this time of year are not great. So I use some frozen mango because when you get the frozen fruits, they're always going to be at the peak of freshness and sweetness. But if you ever come across something called an Atolfo mango or champagne mango, those are the best. They're a little bit smaller, they're yellow, and they tend to be sweet every time I get them. How's it good? Yeah. So, and I did add a little bit of cayenne in there too, to give it a little heat. But again, any spiciness that adding in these recipes is always optional.
It's a little bit of texture on it.
Yeah. And so it's almost like chia seeds actually, when they soak, create this gelatinous substance around the seed, so it can act as a pudding. So it's almost like eating a tapioca pudding. If you're a texture person and that doesn't really agree with you, my suggestion is you can take the pudding, once you've soaked the seeds, you can take the pudding and put it in a blender. And you can blend up those seeds so you're not getting that texture in there, and it's a little bit more of a smoother pudding. But like I said, the little bit of fresh fruit on there just gives you a little bit of sweetness, and you're not eating a dessert that's going to be overpoweringly sweet. All right, so that was a very, very quick meal, and I want to know if anybody has any questions. We'll definitely open it up, the Q&A section, I think on the chat feature on the app. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything for you.
Erin, there are 2 questions.
Okay.
Evelyn wants to know where she can get the Marcella sauce or spice.
So it's a garam masala. I got this at Kroger. So this is it's a Kroger brand. You can see that there. So it's the private selection. I know in Pittsburgh, where Evelyn is from, is Giant Eagle. I'm pretty sure you can get it there as well. I would say the bigger grocery stores are going to have them, but you'll also be able to find them at Whole Foods and possibly even Trader Joe's.
So Marcella spice in the spice section?
Yes, it is a spice. So you're going to find it with all of the other, like garlic powder, with the curry powders, with salt and pepper. But they're going to be, you can see right here, this is a little bit of a reddish blend, but usually you'll find it in that spice aisle pretty easily.
Okay, and then other question is, what is the brand of the brown rice?
It's called Simply Nature. So this is, like I said, I got it from Aldi. So that's one of their, I think their organic lines. Let me see it here. Give you a different shot of it. So Simply Nature, it happened to be organic. And it, like I said, it cooks up in 15 minutes. And one thing I did forget to mention about, like with any grains you're using, you always, before you cook them, you always want to soak them a little bit. Soaking them actually helps to release some of a particular acid that's in the grains that can keep you from absorbing key nutrients like iron. So always important to rinse the grains first and then pour that water off and then go ahead and start the cooking process.
And then the last question is how do you spell the name of the mango you mentioned?
ATULF. Oh, yes. Champagne. If you look for champagne mangoes, you will have them. So that name is a little bit more obscure.
Okay, those were all of the questions.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. If you do have additional questions, please let me know through your host coach. And again, very nice to be here this passion cooking with you guys. I hope this was not too out of the box, too out of the comfort zone for you guys, but I look forward to hearing some other suggestions from all of you, or maybe something else that you'd like to see me cook in the future. Have a great day.
Thank you, Erin.
You're welcome.
You can turn off your camera.
Oh.
It started echoing there at the end.